I want to share with you how I got started very much into the internet. Obviously, it sounds like I know what I'm talking about there. But when I first got into the business, I joined a real estate company, and man, you want to talk about technology changes? They were showing me how to cut out a photo and glue it onto another piece of paper. That was the listing presentation. I'm like, oh my gosh. So there's been a lot of major changes, and I thought when I get into real estate, it's going to be like any other job. They're going to show me how to get my leads. They're going to provide me with the systems and tools. They showed me a desk and a phone book and said, ask if you got questions. I'm like, oh my God, I got a question. Where do I start? So I had no database. I had no sphere of influence. I mean, I look young now. I started in 2007. I didn't trust myself with a $300,000 contract. So none of my friends, they all live in Whistler, there's 16 of them, so they weren't buying and selling, so I had to do something and generate my own leads. So as much as everybody thinks I'm like a technology and internet guy, it actually started old school. And I went door knocking with a letter like this. So it's an 8.5-11 sheet of paper, and I had a photo of me and my wife, and then a picture of our dog, and I wrote up a story of how we wanted to buy a home, a particular home, and I went door knocking. We bought 2 houses privately because of this letter. And my broker owner freaked out because he's like, you're brand new in business, you're not making, I was making money, but he didn't think I should be buying a house. Anyways, I bought a house privately because of door knocking, and it worked out so well that I went door knocking based on all of our buyers. So I then put together a photo of who our buyer was and wrote up a story of who they are and why they want in that particular area. And I'm going to give you this as a Word document. It's a template so that you can have that and just change the photos out and change the story. But in the story at the bottom, because it's written from the buyer, at the story at the bottom it says, if you know anybody thinking of buying, thinking of selling, please have them call my realtor. And then it had all of our information. So, of everything that I've ever done, nothing produced more appointments for the cost, because the cost was nothing. It was just my time to go around doing it. And I bought 2 houses, but I would get 2 appointments per hour. So if I door knocked on the weekend and did 1 hour worth of door knocking, that following week, guaranteed 2 appointments. And I don't mean just like 2 conversations. I mean 2 people I was at their house talking about listing, or them maybe even being a buyer. So the script was really simple. I would knock on the door, knock, knock, knock. As soon as they open the door, I take a step back to create breathing room. I have that piece of paper at my side. It's not at the front. I'm not waving around. It's at my side. And I just start naturally talking to them. I'm like, hey, we're looking at buying a home in the area, and I don't suspect that you're thinking of moving or not. But if you know anybody who is, can you just point me in the right direction? So let me just break that down a little bit. So when I take the step back, I create breathing room. I say, I don't suspect you're thinking of moving or not. I'm giving them the onus to shoo me away and point me in the right direction. So they're like, oh yeah, go down the street and talk to this guy. So people were showing me where to go. And when I would pull out the piece of paper and tap, because you can't see, but I broke it up. There's another spot for a map, and I would put the map of every street that I was door knocking. So if I door knocked 10 streets that day, I had 10 different stacks of paper with a different map for each area. When the person opened the door and I said, because we really want in this area, I tapped on the map for them to look down, because they tune into what's in it for me. As soon as they look at that piece of paper, they're looking at the map. They're not reading, they're not listening to me anymore. So I do a pattern interrupt, and I sandwich the piece of paper. And I'm like, oh, no, this is for you to keep in case you can think of anything anybody after I'm gone. I just need you to steer me in the right direction. We're being really proactive. So that really helped with us buy the house. But then we started doing it for the buyers, and people were just showing us like, yeah, go talk to this guy. People would bring me into their house. I never had a bad experience. The worst experience was the people that, like, I knock on the door and they're looking at me and they don't want to open. That was the worst. I mean, I can get over that. I never had anybody swear at me, yell at me, call me names. I never felt degraded as a human. It was very conversational. It was very positive in my world. And so I was just being really proactive for our buyer. Now, if you don't have any buyers, don't do this and make up like a name, like Charlie's buying a house. They can smell it. That commission breath is like strong, but the BS breath is even stronger. It smells like S. And so I would only do it when I actually had a buyer looking for a particular property. when I talk about the story of what they're looking for, I loosened up a little bit, because when I first started doing it, I'm like, they need a garage. I knocked on a door, the guy opens, and he like laughed at me because they don't have a garage. He's like, you say you need a garage, my house doesn't have a garage. I'm like, oh yeah, obviously, stupid me. But you're home, so I knocked on the door anyways. And so I loosen up on the criteria, because the criteria doesn't matter so much, you just want to find the opportunity. So that one approach, 2 appointments per hour, I mean, this is beautiful weather. You guys live in an awesome community. I'd be door knocking. This is such a great way to get in shape. Just going around, knocking on doors, having good conversations, and it's very positive. Now, if I didn't have that, if I didn't have any buyers that were specifically looking at buying a property, oh, and the best ones to do were townhouses, by the way. 2 reasons. Townhouses have a higher turnover. The other reason is the doors are a lot closer. So I knock on a door, I'm like, oh, next one, knock, next one. But if it's like a detached community with a 2-car garage, you got to go up the driveway, down. It takes a lot longer to get through the doors. People would actually call me back if they didn't open the door. Not if they were looking at me, I would just leave. But the people that didn't, nobody opened the door at all, I would leave the piece of paper. I would just like leave it there. And people were actually calling us back because it's a real story about real people. And at the bottom of the story, at the bottom of the story, it says to call the realtor. Where was I going with that? At the bottom of the story. Oh yeah, just at the bottom of the story, it said if you think of anybody, have them call my realtor, and people actually were calling us to talk about that. But we told the story we also reiterated of why the people wanted it in that area. So our buyers really want this area because of the school, and we would list the school and the park and the distance to certain things that are unique to that person in that neighborhood. So it's very important that you pull on their heartstrings, and I don't mean create them up. Have a real story and have your buyers sign off on it saying, yeah, you can use our photo and this is the story, and be proactive. We want you to get the listing. Okay, cool. So if we didn't have that, I would head on over to Craigslist. My very first month in business, I did 11 rentals. By the end of that year, I did 28 real transactions, buyers and sellers, first year into business for free from Craigslist. So I'm going to share with you how I did that. We did other business from the internet and whatever, but 11 rentals, that's kind of a funny story because agents would make fun of me. I don't know why, but they'd be like, oh, it's so much work and you're getting paid a fraction. I'm like, yeah, but I did 11 in 1 month. Half a month's commission times 11 is a lot to me at that age. And I was building my database. I was getting paid to prospect. I was getting paid to learn the business. So that might not apply to most of the people in here, but it's free business and I'm going to show you how to get it. And it's not just Craigslist. It also worked on Kijiji. There's, these clickers aren't working. So it's not just Craigslist. It was also Kijiji. It was also the local newspaper. So for me, Durham Region was the Oshawa newspaper was owned by DurhamRegion.com. They have a classified section. So I would go to the classified section and I would contact the FSBOs and I would contact the people looking for homes for sale. So I had a rule. Brand new agent, didn't have a lot of money for marketing. My rule was 12 a day. I would have 12 conversations every day about either somebody buying a home, selling a home, or me following up with that person from a past conversation. So I had to have 12 a day. I would come in, grab a piece of paper, draw a grid, and it just happened to work out that there's 12 blocks, so that's why it's 12 a day. It's not like a magic number. I just had to fill in this piece of paper. So I wouldn't leave the office until it was either too late for me to be calling people or I filled in that sheet. You can't be in this business, have 12 real estate conversations a day and not succeed. But my problem, the biggest problem we all have, is the prospecting of, well, great, I'll have 12 conversations, but who do I call? That's the hardest thing, is that prospecting list. So I'm going to show you how I built this list. When I first got started, I was in 2007. Funny side note story, I'm not wearing any pants in that photo. That was my very first real estate headshot. That's a Motorola Razr to show how technically advanced I was at the time, and I didn't even have to wear the pants because I knew it was just a headshot. Anyways, so I was growing my database, I got paid to prospect, and I leveraged my time, not my money. So I would walk in the office every morning, fully dressed, top to bottom, grab a piece of paper, draw the grid, and then I would head on over to Craigslist. And on Craigslist, they have a section, real estate for sale. So I would head on to Craigslist, go to the real estate section for sale. And you'll notice up at the top right, there's 2,500 postings right now. This is Toronto. But I was in Durham region, Oshawa, so I'm in a small community too. So I'm not just saying it only works in Toronto. It worked in Oshawa. Anyways, this is Toronto. There's 2,500 postings for real estate for sale. Well, they have a filter, real estate by owner. That 2,500 turned into 472 people right now that posted that they're for sale by owner. So I would just open up each one and I would call them with this script. So I'd say, hey, I noticed you have a home for sale on Craigslist. Is it still available? And I would pause and let them answer. I'd repeat their answer. And then I'd say, okay, well, I'm a real estate agent, but unlike all the other agents calling to get the listing, I'm actually calling to see if I could help with the buying end. See, as a buyer agent, you don't pay my fees, and I could help you with the window shopping. It's easy. Now, if you were to move, what area would you like to move to? At that point, I usually add something, so I'm like, it's too hard for people to filter and answer because I just threw a ton at them. They weren't expecting my phone call, right? So I add something there. So I say, if you were to move, what area would you move to? Oshawa, Whitby, Pickering, Ajax, and I put the words in their mouth because I don't need their whole story. I just need them to tell me that they're moving in my area. So I put the words in their mouth so they'd be like, oh, not Oshawa, Whitby. And they say it all snotty, right? I'm just kidding. But I put the words in their mouth to shorten the conversation. And then I'd say, I'd like to set it up on a daily alert so you don't miss out. And this is a funny, interesting strip because I say, as a buyer agent, you don't pay my fees, and I could help with the window shopping. It's easy. All the other agents are calling them for the listing. Call them for the buying side. If a FSBO sells their own property, they're probably going to buy a home, right? And what's the main commission? I just told you the answer. What's the main reason the FSBOs don't want to work? The commission is one of the bigger ones. Well, guess what? As a buyer agent, you don't pay the commission. So I just start off the conversation by saying that. And then I start talking to them about what area they want. And it's such an easy conversation. There's 470 something there. I can guarantee you we'd have at least a couple listing appointments if we called all those people this weekend. Right? And it works in my area. So in Oshawa, there wouldn't be 470. There'd be like 200 or 150. And maybe out in this area, it's a smaller number. Maybe it's 70. 70 is more than the none you got now that you're not calling. So I would call the people. Okay, so a lot of times, the for sale by owners, they don't put their phone number. Huh, how interesting. You want to sell your own home, but you don't have the phone number. So I have this as an email script. So I would copy this from a Word document, and I'll email you this Word document. You just have to drop your card in. So I email them. I say, hey, I noticed you have a home for sale on Craigslist. Is it still available? I actually wanted to see if I could help you with the buying end. As a buyer, you don't pay the real estate fees. It's no cost to you to work with me as a real estate agent. I wanted to be proactive and see if you wanted to book any showings from the MLS this week. Because they're probably looking at the MLS, and I know they probably want to book showings. So I'm the agent. I'm here for you. Did any catch your eye? I can email you an updated list based on your criteria. I'd love to talk. You can call, text, or email me anytime, and then your RICO information. If you sent that email to 20 people, I bet you'd get 1 or 2 that reply back, and it's totally free. Now, Craigslist, a lot of people I talk about Craigslist back in the day, or even forever, they get you into the impression that you have to be posting ads on Craigslist. You got to post like 30 ads a day, and you got to take them off and repost them at 2 o'clock, or you failed. I didn't post any ads. I was just using other people's ads to call them based on what they were. They were either a for sale by owner. Some people actually post ads saying, I'm looking for a bungalow in North Oshawa. Oh, well, thank you. You made my job a lot easier. And I contact them. Oh, you're looking for a bungalow in North Oshawa. So they actually post saying what they're looking for. We would also contact the landlords and the tenants. So a lot of landlords, they don't want to be a landlord anymore. They want to sell. Or the landlords who are, they need help with the lease. Or the tenants who are looking to rent, we can help them there, or we can convert them into a buyer. So here's a couple examples. Here's the landlord script. So if I call the so I go to Craigslist or Kijiji, Oshawa, real estate for rent. So that's like the filtering I would do. I think in Toronto, there's 2,500 again, the same number. I don't know why it's the same number, but there's 2,500 people that have an ad saying that they're a landlord. So I would call them up and I would say, hey, I noticed you have a home for rent on Craigslist. Is it still available? Pause and repeat their answer. I'm a real estate agent and I realize you're already marketing your home for rent, but would you be open to me bringing offers for sale? Have you ever considered selling? We can also help with the rental side too. And I pause, long pause. If it takes them 10 seconds to answer, I'm letting them take that 10 seconds to answer. A lot of landlords don't want to be a landlord anymore. So if I can tell them you can already market your home, and I'll just cast a larger net. If I don't bring you any offers, you don't have to pay, but you're missing out if we don't show you what's available. And it's such an easy conversation. A lot of landlords were really willing, especially in this, I don't know what you want to call it, but the market that we just had, the prices really jumped up. They really want to talk about pricing. So it was a really good time. If you called the landlords with that script like a couple months ago, you would have been making the money. So anyways, I paused and answered their question. Now, if they say, I'm keeping the home, I don't need any help, they're like, oh, no, I'm a landlord, I'm a pro, I do this on my own, I don't need you. So then I'd be like, well, since this one's working out so well for you, have you ever considered getting another one in the future? I have a list of investment property I could send you. Do you have any friends thinking about investing too? So now I'm just going for the referral, or if they're already the hotshot and like know what they're doing, well, you don't want to miss out on the next deal. I got a whole list. So I just shift the conversation from me helping them sell the property to me helping you buy more. If they're interested in selling or want us to help them with the rental, I would just start off with the criteria because that's easy for them. I'll be like, okay, tell me about the property. And they'll say the price, the style, and all that. And now it's just a real conversation. There's no script. Other than my qualifying questions, I would have to be scripted on what I'm going to say to people. Are they working with a realtor? Are they motivated? All these other things. But that script, awesome. Another one is the tenants looking to rent. Tenants actually post ads on Craigslist and Kijiji saying that they're looking for a rental. So I would call up a tenant and I'd say, hey, I noticed you posted on Craigslist looking to rent a home. Are you still looking? Let them answer. I'm a real estate agent and we have a fresh list of rentals on the market you might have missed. Can I send you an updated list? So did you know on the MLS in your local area, there's actually homes for rent by other agents? I would just email the people that list. Every morning I would pull off a list of all the rentals in Durham. And I wasn't getting to the nitty-gritty of, oh, you need granite countertop. I mean, this was like a contact sport. I was just turning them out. So I would just email them the mass list and let them pick and choose the listings that work for them. And then I would pepper this in the conversation. Have you ever considered buying a home? We have options that you can own that carry for the same as what you're willing to pay in rent. I mean, I noticed on your ad you're looking for $1,400 or below. Well, we've actually got a couple properties that you can buy for $1,400 a month. Have you talked to anybody about that? And I had a banking partner that would help them with getting situated. There was a rent-to-own company that I was connected with. We didn't do much with that because it's a win-win, but it's not really. I'd rather people just save their own money. Anyways, there's different ways of doing it, but that conversation of the 28 deals that we got for free, I bet half of them came from that, from me calling the tenants looking to rent a property. Some of them, they weren't even the ones buying, but their sister is, or their brother, or their cousin. So we were getting referrals from it. So I got a couple tips. The first tip is if they are a for sale by owner, the number we pulled off on the first screen said 497 or something like that. Well, there's a filter on the left. A real FSBO will put the price of the home. What kind of FSBO doesn't put the price of the home? Only real estate agents do that. So I put a minimum price of $100,000, and that narrowed it from 490 to 190. Okay, so now I got it narrowed down to these are probably the real for sale by owners. Okay, so here's a for sale by owner. I pull off, I open it up. Now what's wrong with this? I'll tell you, the first letter of every word is capitalized. They ripped this off the MLS. When you guys upload your stuff onto your MLS board, it capitalizes the first letter. So if I see a FSBO and every letter of every word is capitalized, they got it listed either with them or somebody else. On Kijiji, they have a wanted section. So there's 356 people right now that are looking for a home for sale in Toronto. So and I could filter that more and say anybody who's looking to spend $300,000 and above, because anybody who actually puts a price is probably real. And it might narrow that number from 356 down to like 4. Well, now I know the next 4 people I'm calling over my lunch break. I mean, it is so simple. And I just started outsourcing this. So Upwork.com is where I outsource a lot of my stuff. And UPWORK, Upwork.com, you can go there and find a freelancer. So this is where I found the people to do my blogging. This is where I find people to do my video editing. I outsource everything. And so one of the tasks I found was when I pull off the list of all the for sale by owners, say it was like 500, it would take me a couple hours to go through each one and to see, well, these are all capitalized, this one's obviously a realtor, and I have to go through, and it takes time. I just paid somebody else to do it for me. That way, every Monday, I had a fresh list of all the people, and I just got to work. Not the busybody work. I got to the work of like using my license work. That's the type of work that I wanted to do. So I outsource stuff like this to Upwork. I'm going to go on a little sidetrack with Upwork. And how much time do I have? Plenty? I don't even... I'm over? Okay, true. Okay, well, I'll end off here. So I outsource a ton. Like, I outsource as much as I can. It's a book I read, The 4-Hour Work Week by Timothy Ferriss. Changed my life. And so I have spent like 20, 30,000 on outsourcing over the course of some time now, at least. And every morning, I spend an hour of my day setting up all of my virtual assistants with what they're going to do tomorrow. So I spend 1 hour setting up them with what they're going to do tomorrow. Well, my 1 hour every day turns into 6 to 8 hours of effort. Because I have this guy doing my videos, I have this girl doing my blogs, I have this person doing my prospecting list, I have this person entering people into my database. So I queue them up, and I'm just like the quarterback. You can pay, and I'm not saying outsource to other parts of the world and like, no Canada. Hire people in Canada, just outsource it so that you're not the one who's doing it, right? Get out of your own way. If it's not your strength, you shouldn't be doing it. So, okay. I guess my time is up. I really appreciate you guys being with me. I wanted you guys to walk away with a tangible item that you can actually leverage this weekend and next week. If you are interested in any of that or more, just drop your card over there so I can send you the follow-up with the templates. And I appreciate you all being here. Thank you.